morning, good afternoon, and good night. This is Mark Fox Jr. This has become the podcast. How do you become anything you dream, you declare, you commit, and success is your next breath. Do I have any sponsors? No. One day though. One day when I have sponsors, I'll be telling you about some cool product that some company that sends me their product and I get to use it and then tell you all about it. But I guess for now, my only sponsor is God. That's my sponsor. He's been serving people for years and years and years. Some people use the services, some people don't. But whether they know it or not, he's involved. But yeah, that's my sponsor. So, just got done working out. So my brain is kind of going in a million directions and trying to calm everything down so I can hopefully provide you with some content that will help you have a better day, have a better week, and just kind of strengthen you moving forward. I wanted to go back to an old concept that I spoke about, months ago, and that's intention. I was having a conversation with someone, and I mentioned the concept of intention, and I couldn't remember my speaking points. And it was always two speaking points. There was three strong speaking points. And when I talk about intention, I ask the question, number one, how do you want to show up? How do you want to show up? And then number two, how do you want to think about whatever it is you're doing? So I'll say it again. The question number one, when we talk about intention, is how do you want to show up? And then how do you want to think about what it is you're doing? And that's key. Those questions are key because we take ownership and we reclaim our power, or we maintain our power. So whether you're reclaiming it or maybe you're just maintaining your power over situations and circumstances. I heard a concept by Tim Grover, legendary trainer for Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, Charles Barkley, I think Hakeem Olajuwon. But he says you don't always get a chance. You don't always get to pick your battles. You don't always get a chance to pick your struggles. Sometimes your struggles will pick you. Sometimes we pick our own battles through decision making, through just bad judgment, uncalculated, fast decisions. Sometimes we create our own battles, and therefore we make our own battles. And I guess in some way you've kind of chosen that battle, maybe. But there's other times when battles choose they choose us, and so it could be cancer. It could be being laid off after doing a really, really good job, doing excellent work and being laid off. Sometimes, you as an honest person, sometimes a person is, as an honest person, someone else may not want your services anymore or not want to do business with you because they've been swindled or they've been manipulated or tricked by somebody who's a little, somebody who's shifty, saying a little more crafty. And sometimes as an honest person, you don't get recognized. That happens a lot. They say good guys finish last or good girls finish last, whatever the case may be. Well, sometimes when you do things the right way, sometimes people don't always see that they don't see the value in working with you. They think that if I work with somebody else who talks a little quicker, who's a little craftier, and they care a little more charismatic, a little bit more flash over substance, they feel like this is the better option. They get hypnotized by the flash, and they say, you know what, I'm good. And so that's a battle that sometimes pick you. You've been outdone by a lesser opponent, not because of their work, but because of how quick they are, or because of the weakness of the third party, the person who has an opportunity to select A or B. Sometimes because of who they are and how they see the world, they may not recognize that you are the answer or the solution, So sometimes our struggles pick us, Sometimes it's divorce. Sometimes it's substance abuse. Sometimes we're not dealing with the substance abuse, but we're dealing with someone who is dealing with the substance abuse, That's a struggle that for whatever reason picks you, and it's all types of. It could be a situation where you have really, really good home life, good structure, good support. You know, you have money on some level. I mean, you may not be swimming in it, but you got it on some level. You know, and you just got a situation that you don't think would lend itself to people being so stressed out and so anxious and so depressed and suffering from some mental ills to the point where they will go look for an additional substance to make them feel better. And you look at your family structure and look at your situation and say, man, we're doing fine. Why would you need to go outside of, you know, talking and you know, family time and just kind of dialogue? Why would you go outside of that to seek help and refuge? But it happens. And so now you're dealing with a struggle that you didn't select. So with that being said, are you going to allow your circumstances to compromise who you are, how you show up, how you think? Many people do. Many people do. And so all depending on the circumstances and the situation, that will dictate their behavior. That will dictate how they think. That will dictate how they show up. So if the situation and the circumstances are good, pleasant, fair, then they show up in a way that's complimentary. But if the situation is shaky, unstable, uncertain, then they show up that way. And so when you live a life of intention, you don't allow the situation, the circumstance to compromise who you are. You know, your goal as a person living with intention is to alter the vibe and the energy of that situation. So if everybody in the situation, everybody's attached to the situation is low, you want to alter their position. Now, you may not take them from 0 to 100, 0 being the lowest, 100 being the highest. You may not take them from 0 to 100, but maybe you might get them from 0 to 50. That's some progress. You might get them from 0 to 25. That's progress. At least you're not at 100, at 0 anymore. And maybe now that they seen themselves improve, maybe there's some confidence that they can make another jump, take another leap. So your goal and our goal as people who live intention is to show up in a certain way, regardless of what the circumstances and the situations are. We want to show up in a way that is redemptive, that is positive, that is inspiring, that is encouraging. And we hope that our energy is so vibrant and so strong that we can influence other people to look at things a little bit different so that they can be more productive. When I talk to my ball players, I say, is your confidence circumstantial? You know, is your productivity, is your ability to be clutch, is your confidence circumstantial? Meaning, are you those things at all times? So whether we down by 5, whether we down by 15, whether we down by 20, whether we down by 20 and it's 2 minutes left in the game, are you going to allow that situation to compromise your confidence? Like, I know I'm going to lose. Sometimes we know we're going to lose. We know what the situation is. We know that whether we were unprepared, maybe we didn't have time to prepare, you know, or maybe somebody was just better than you that day. And you go in, you give it everything you got, you try to execute your plan. But sometimes other people and sometimes the forces and sometimes, all depending on what the situation is, sometimes the opposition can be overwhelming and they win a battle. Not the war, but they win a battle. And I could think of times when I've coached as of late and we've had a star player go down with an injury for 12 games. You know, you got a kid who scores 17 points a game. He creates his own scores. He creates scores for everybody else. He's a perimeter threat. He's a to the basket threat. He can post up. Kid can play. He goes down. How do you replace that? It's tough. So you're trying to figure out how can you replace not only 17 points, but a very dynamic 17 points. This guy gets kids in foul trouble. You know, so how do you replace that? This year, we had the same kid. He goes down with an ACL injury, I think, 3rd game into the season. How do you replace that? How do you recover from that? So those are one of those situations where, man, you can be prepared all you want, but when something devastating happens, something devastating happens. And so going into a game, a big game where you need all the firepower you can, and then one of your best players goes down. I mean, as a coach, you prepare your butt off, but at the end of the day, it's going to be tough to replace this player. Or maybe a bunch of people got sick. So how do you replace that? So going into it, you're going to be shorthanded. But you still have to have confidence. You still have to have conviction behind what you're doing. You still got to find a way to be productive. You still got to find a way to be confident. You still got to find a way to be clutch. When we need it most, you got to find a way to come through in spite of the situation and circumstances. Because although I might end this game, or I might end this day having experienced not the greatest of situations and circumstances, but I still got to be confident. I still got to be productive, and I still got to find a way to be clutch, because how that's going to impact tomorrow. See, if I just, you use basketball terms. If I just go throughout this game, right, and I know I'm going to I know that I can see the writing on the wall. They're making everything. We're missing everything. We're running our stuff. We're running to perfection. We're getting our shots, but man, we're losing, right? Because it's just not our day. I still got to find some confidence in what I'm doing. I still got to think about what I'm doing a certain way. I still got to believe in it a certain way. Because that belief and that confidence, even though I know I'm taking this L, even though I know I'm getting beat by 15 or 20 points tonight and I'm giving it my all, if I don't have a certain level of confidence in what I'm doing, then the next day at practice, it's gonna carry over. That lack of confidence, that lack of spirit, it's gonna carry over. And then it's gonna carry over into a game. So even though I'm taking even though I'm not succeeding in the way that I want to succeed, I still have to have confidence in my process and confidence in what I'm doing, especially if I'm prepared. We're not going to have confidence in just, poor preparation, right? But if I'm preparing like crazy and I'm working my butt off and I'm still taking this L, right, this life learning lesson, and I'm taking this L, I still got to have confidence in it, because that's going to impact me the next day. So I might take an L today, but I might go off on a 5-game winning streak simply because I didn't allow my situation and my circumstances to dictate my behavior. That's why you got to show up with intention. You got to think about, you got to decide, how do I want to show up? I want to show up with confidence. I want to show up with enthusiasm. I want to show up with a growth mindset. Always understanding that no matter how difficult it is, I can learn. I mean, it may not even be my genius level. It may not be a genius level talent, but it's okay. I can be proficient. I may not be the best, but I can be proficient. I can learn enough to contribute. No matter how tough it is, if I decide to show up and I decide to sign up, I can learn enough to be proficient. So I got to figure out, how do I want to show up? And no matter how crazy it looks, I decided that I was going to show up this way ahead of time. So I'm going to hold myself accountable and make sure that no matter how crazy it looks, I'm showing up in this way. It's like you sign up to do a restoration project, or some sort of construction project where you want to, turn this abandoned building into something that's much nicer, right? Restore it. But you don't know what the abandoned building looks like. But you sign up anyway, because your heart is telling you, this is what I need to do. This is where I've been led. And you get out the van, or you get out the vehicle, you get off the bus, whatever, and you see what's in front of you, and it's overwhelming. It's so overwhelming. It's like, what did I sign up for? And really quick, right there, you gotta go back to what you decided. How do you decide you were going to show up? And you got to make sure that although it's overwhelming, although it's a bunch of other people that's feeling the same way you felt, but they didn't decide to show. They didn't decide to show up in a certain way. So they're looking at the challenge, and they're allowing the challenge and how overwhelming it is. They're allowing that to dictate their character and dictate their behavior. You have to quickly snap out of it and say, whoa, no. We haven't even started working on this thing yet. Let's start working on it, and then let's get some progress. Let's see what happens when we take care of step one. We got many steps, but let's take care of step one, and then let's see how we feel then. We might feel inspired because we might realize after this first, second, and third step, hey, all of a sudden this job ain't so overwhelming. Maybe because we working hard, we might get some more help. We may get some more support. You know, because we working hard and we getting after it, we might have some people in the group that we didn't even know have other resources and other skills. Now they want to contribute. Now all of a sudden the work just became less because now we're getting the experts to kind of show their genius, and now they've helped us figure out how this overwhelming project is not so overwhelming. All because we decided to show up in a certain way, and because we held ourselves accountable, we became a symbol of possibility and strength and resilience. And now that inspires other people. That's why you got to make sure that regardless of what the situation, the circumstances are, I'm going to show up a certain way to make sure I put myself in position to do my best work in hopes that I can inspire someone to do the same. And then the next thing is about intention. You have to think about what it is you're doing. You have to decide, how are you going to think about what it is you're doing? Because 9 times out of 10, whatever you want to do, especially if it's overwhelming, if it's daunting, right? If it's a goal, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be overwhelming. It's going to be challenging. So every part of that process is not going to be something that you love. I played basketball in college. I love to practice. I love to practice more than the games. There was something about all these different challenges throughout the course of a practice that I loved, right? Whether it was a rebounding drill, whether it was a dribbling drill, whether it was a passing drill, defensive drill, offensive drill, and then taking an offensive set and then just kind of willing. We used to run our offense on one side of the floor, and that was like a challenge. Can you run your offense on one side of the floor? And so you had to reduce the options, and because we have to reduce the options, it made us work harder to turn these few options and maximize them, right? So instead of using the whole floor and using all the options, we would take 5 guys, we would take our 5-on-5 set, slash it down to 3-on-3, and then we would have to see if we could run our offense with 3 guys on one side of the floor. And for some reason, I just loved that stuff, right? That's the stuff that I loved. I did not particularly care for suicides. I did not, even though I used to come in first, I did not like suicides. I did not like conditioning. You know what I'm saying? I'd find some way to like it and get into it, but that wasn't one of the things that I enjoyed doing. But my point is, even though I didn't like it, even then I understood I got to find a way to make myself fall in love with this. I got to find a way to fall in love with this. So because I decided that, you know, I'm gonna work on my breathing. That's going to be something this is going to be one of the reasons why I like doing my conditioning, because I can focus on my breathing. I want to see if I can run really hard, but at the same time control my breathing. I want to see if I can count my steps. If I can count my steps and be consistent in terms of how many steps it takes for me to get from point A to point B, that's something to think about. Now I'm not thinking about the fact that I'm running a suicide. I had this technique where instead of running and getting both feet on the line and touching, because all we had to do was touch the line with our foot. So I would run and I would like plant my foot and extend my hind leg, right? I would plant my foot like maybe a couple feet in front of the line. I would then extend my other leg out to touch it, and then I would accelerate and go. And I had this like technique that I felt made me faster and more efficient. And then that was like something that I would like focus on, right? But it was those things that I decided that this is how I'm going to fall in love with it, because I'm going to have all these little games that I'm going to play with myself to keep me interested, to keep me engaged. So it was because of these games that I found a way to fall in love with conditioning. And because I fell in love with conditioning, I just so happened to always be first. Like my senior year and my junior year, I was always first. Always first. Whatever we're doing in conditioning. But it was because I decided to think, I decided that I was going to think about it in a certain way. And that helped me become more productive. And so all these things that you don't like, you have to find a way to fall in love with it. Now, conditioning is not the person working at the elderly home and has to clean up, Mr. Jones, what I'm saying, after he has an accident. I know that's how do you fall in love with that? I don't know. How do you go to work as a nurse, and you have to watch kids who, you deal with a certain segment of a certain population of patients that are young people that are either going into surgery or coming out of surgery. So they're in bad shape. And you got to deal with the parents who are ungrateful, the parents who are anxious, the parents who are stressed out, the parents who are nervous, the parents who are going through their own battles and dealing with their own demons. And they can't see how you as a nurse, how you busting your butt to do everything you possibly can to make them comfortable, make the child comfortable. And you also got your own thing. Now, how do you now process that and find a way to turn this into something that you love? Somebody's struggling out there, right? Some nurses are struggling, but you know what? There's somebody else who's figuring it out. There's somebody who's figuring it out. They got a game plan. There's some things that they do before work. There's some things they do during work, and some things they do after the work day is done. There's some things they do on their off day to put themselves in a good state of mind so they can come back to the action and get after it. And they make sure that I'm going to think about I'm going to show up in this way. I'm going to think about my job in this way. And those are the people that even when people are going through it, their energy is elevated. Their vibration is elevated. Something about them is elevated when they get around that one nurse or that one person. Because here's the thing. The universe and the people in it are reflections of our intention. So how we think about ourselves and how we think about our work will be reflected back to us based upon how we show up. So people they can feel your intention. They can feel it, and they respond to it, and they reflect it. They give it back to you. So when you show up to be enthusiastic, to be positive, to be strong, to be resilient, that's going to show up. People are going to give that back to you. Now, they may not give it back to you with the same energy, right? Because again, somebody might be at zero. They're going through it. But they might bounce it back to you at 25%. You bump them up to 25%, so they're going to give it back to you at 25%. And then we have those other situations where you're dealing with somebody who's at 50%. But man, when they see you, man, you charge them up. That energy that you give off, they feel it, and then they give it back to you, and they go from 50% to 100, and they throw it right back at you at 50%, man, and you see them just jump off the page with enthusiasm and belief. Same thing about your work. When you're working real hard, and you're finding a way to fall in love with the work, people feel that, man. They feel it. They feel it, they process it, and then they give it right back to you. They say, man, I could tell you love what you're doing, man. I could tell you love what you're doing, and in some way they give that energy right back to you, that gratitude. Or maybe it's a customer who continuously works with you. Maybe you're a smaller company, your prices are a little bit more. Prices are a little bit more expensive than the competitors, right? But they still deal with you, man, because of the energy. You're expensive, but they still deal with you, man, because of the intention. They see how you show up to work every single day. There's a place that I like to eat. It's called Satchel's Barbecue Place. Satchel's Barbecue. I know they got two places. They got two locations in Ann Arbor. I go to both of them. I'm gonna go to one today. I love the fact that the food is inconsistent. Here's why. They got several cooks. All depending on who's cooking, the macaroni and cheese might be a little different. Just a little bit, right? Just a little bit. I mean, but you have to go there every day to know. but it might be a little different. And I love that because somebody is back there cooking it from scratch every single day. The intention is we're going to cook food every single day. We're going to make macaroni a couple times per day. We're going to make these greens a couple times per day. We're going to make this fried corn a couple times per day, right? And so every time you eat it, it may not always taste exactly the same. Sometimes it may be smacking. It may be amazing. Other days, it may not. It may be a step below smacking. It may be a step below whatever. But here's the thing. Somebody made it every single day. So the intention is we're going to make fresh food every single day. So because of that intention, I'll ride with them because I know they're doing what the competitor isn't. The competitor is just pouring stuff out of a bag and following some instructions and putting some seasoning on it. You know what I'm saying? They're not cooking it every single day. So where you may get consistency over here, you're not getting the person who got up early in the morning, opened up the pasta, poured it in the boiling water, boiled it, put it in the pan, put the cheese on it, season it, put it in the oven. You're not getting that. You're getting somebody who this stuff is already made. All we got to do is pop it in the oven. All we got to do is pop it in the microwave with some sort of something to heat it up, and then we're ready to serve it. But because of I appreciate the inconsistency because I understand the intention behind it. We want to make sure that we're serving fresh food every single day. We got a cook who coming in here and busting her butt every single day. And because of that, I ride with Satchels. Now, it's good every single day. But I can appreciate the inconsistency in the macaroni and cheese. You get where I'm going. When you decide to think about your work a certain way, it may not always be the best. But if you think about it in a certain way, if you fall in love with it, people can feel that intention. They can feel that love coming through your work. And because of that alone, people will rock with you. They'll rock with you. You'll make them feel some kind of way. They'll reflect that energy. They'll give you that energy back. And I said, they'll get that energy back through gratitude. It might be because they'll patronize your store. They'll come to your store I'm coming to Satchels. They do barbecue. I'm coming to Satchels. I'm gonna spend my money. I'm gonna spend money here. The only way I'm not spending my money at Satchels is if they close. And I want some barbecue. I'm going to Satchels. If I want some barbecue when they close, I guess I gotta look for another option. But that's because that's all. That all comes by way of your intention. So if you can, I know you can. The question is, will you live with intention? Will you be deliberate in how you show up every day? Will you be deliberate in how you think about your work? Will you decide every single day, and maybe multiple times a day? Because at some point you got to go to school. Maybe you have to go to school and work. Maybe you have to go to work and go do something at the church. Maybe you got to go to work and you got to go help out at school. Maybe you got to go to work and you got to go to family function. Maybe you got to go to work and you got to go to the nonprofit. Maybe you got to go to, the nonprofit and then later on you got to go to work. Whatever the case may be, I'm going to decide before I get out of my car, before I hop off this bus, hop off this bike, before I walk into this building, I'm going to decide who I'm going to be. I'm not going to let my circumstances and situation decide what I'm going to be. And so no matter what I walk into, I've already decided I'm going to be confident. I'm going to be clutch. I'm going to be productive. I'm going to be awesome. I'm going to be amazing. I'm going to be astounding. I'm going to be incredible. I'm going to be a freaking force of nature. Now, I don't care what is behind on the other side of this door. This is who I'm going to be. And no matter what is on the other side of this door, I'm gonna hold myself accountable. I'm gonna let myself give myself a quick second to maybe get hit in the head by what I'm saying, and then I'm going to go back to what I decided in my car before I walked into this door, and then I'm going to show up that way and see if I can alter the energy in the room. And then no matter what job I get, I'm gonna find a way to fall in love with it. I might have a boss who I'm sick of hearing. I might have a supervisor who I'm sick of hearing. I might have some people around me who I'm sick of dealing with. I'm going to find a way to fall in love with this work. I'm going to find a way to find the game. It's like the game within the game. It's like I told you, when I used to run my suicides, I had 3 things I was focusing on. I want to focus on my breathing. I want to focus on my step count, going from end to end, right? And I want to focus on how I hit the line. I want to focus on how I hit the line so that I can become more efficient. And those are the things that's the game within the game. I'm not just concerned about finishing my suicide under my time. That I know I can do that, right? It's like, I'm not going to worry about my job. I know you can do your job. I'm going to think about this other thing and see if that can occupy me and see if that can distract me from the things that I hate the most, and see if I can find a way to trick myself into loving these things that I don't want to do, so that my intention and my work jumps out or jumps off the page, and somebody else can see it, experience it, and give that back to me. So that's it, man. How long did it take me? 30 seconds? Would you believe me if I told you I want to do that in 15 seconds? And it took me 31 minutes. Would you believe me if I told you I wanted to do that in 15 minutes? I'm long-winded. I can't help it. My father's a preacher. And I love talking, man. Not just talking, but I love sharing. And I love telling stories. And I love playing with words in such a way that it will hopefully inspire someone else. And so to do that, sometimes to put that limit on me is sometimes tough. It's hard to deal with, but no, it is what it is, man. Hopefully you can tell that hopefully you can feel my intention. Hope you can feel my intention. Even though I might be long-winded, I might stutter and stumble, I might mumble sometimes. I'm sometimes when I don't know how to pronounce a word, I'll say it real fast and mumble through it in hopes that you understood what the word was in context, even though that I didn't say it the way that it should be said. But hopefully in all of that, you can feel my intention and realize that I care so deeply about what I'm doing, and I really want to be amazing. I know that I may never be the best speaker, but I want to be the most effective speaker. And I want to make sure that by the time I'm done, you know exactly what I'm talking about on different levels, So that's it, man. I'm going to let you go. Greatness lives on the edge of death. I am not afraid to die. I will fight for my dreams. I will celebrate my dreams, and I will die for my dreams. Thoughts are things, and everything starts off as a thought first and springs from a place of mindfulness and clarity. My name is Marv Fox Jr. When you think about intention, ask yourself 2 questions. How do I want to show up, and how do I want to think about what it is I'm doing? I think this is where I say I'm Marv Fox Jr., and then I say I'm done. Take care.